Happy Monday and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. I'm Rob Adams in our Shelton studio with Donald Eng, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. Donald, good afternoon. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. Had some horribly unhealthy food at the Big E. Got to see some football down in Greenwich. All in all, can't complain.
I wouldn't complain if I went to the Big E, that's for sure. Horrible food. Well,
oh,
great
no,
food.
It's not horrible food. It's wonderful, wonderful food.
Yeah.
To die for, and you might.
Did you do the cream puffs?
I did not. I don't really have a sweet tooth. I did do the Italian sausage topped with pulled pork, topped with bacon.
My danger zone is always the state houses, and I'm still hoping to get. I know there's one more weekend left. I'm still hoping to get there, but it's the state houses for me that I always kind of nosh my way through.
Well, do you wait online 2 hours for a baked potato?
It's never been that long of a wait for me. At most, it's been maybe 10, 15 minutes, so I have done that a few times, although I'm not a baked potato nut. But the danger zone for me is always Vermont, because that's where I get my maple candy.
Ben & Jerry's. Cabot cheese.
The wood-fired pizza.
Oh.
The Cabot cheese, and then right next to the wood-fired pizza is, let's just say, a beverage stand.
Do you just hand them your Visa card as you walk in?
Almost.
It's smoking when you get it back.
Almost. So that's always a good house for me. It's a great time. Not that they need the publicity from us, but it is a great time up there. Anyway, welcome to a Monday edition of the program. We are coming off another football weekend and plenty of scores we can go through and a few things that we can rustle up for you highlight-wise. We'll get to some soccer a little bit later on. We saw, in our very brief history, we saw probably the best soccer game that we've seen yet. We also have to highlight what's coming up this week, as well as, and that's kind of a good segue, into an interview with the Wilton field hockey team. So all that coming up here on this edition of Nutmeg Sports. But let's start with football. And specifically, we were at Greenwich High School on Saturday. We saw kind of what I was afraid was going to happen. I hoped Greenwich could play better defense and stay with the Blue Wave, or that we'd see some kind of a shootout. Darien right now is the team. New Canaan's right there. I don't think the Cardinals are far off. There are a few things they got to fix. It's only week 2. I think the Cardinals will be fine, but they're not quite there yet.
No, I think, and I do think that come Thanksgiving against Staples, you'll see a different Cardinal team than we saw on Saturday. The impression you get from Greenwich, you have to keep in mind, it was a new coach only in his second game. And, the general rule of thumb is your team makes its biggest improvement of the season between game 1 and game 2. They were coming off that tough win over Trinity, and they ran into a team that Greenwich hopes to be maybe in another year or two. They may be a year away, a year of working out a new system and a new coach.
You hate to say a game is over that soon, but the Cardinals got the opening kickoff, and Frank Alfano had the ball. Their quarterback had the ball knocked out from his arm. That took care of everything right there, and you can't make mistakes against the Darien Blue Wave because, as you'll hear, they made the Cardinals pay. So now 1st and 10 at the Greenwich 18. 10-14 to go, first quarter, no score. Back to throw, going to swing it right. Graham out to Grant. Grant around the right side and into the end zone. Touchdown, Blue Wave.
Graham's pass.
A busted coverage for Greenwich. No one covering Shelby Grant in the flat. Timmy Graham's not going to have it easier than that. An easy pitch and catch with Grant. And how about swinging momentum your way right away? Darien, the strip. And a beautiful pass from Graham to Shelby Grant to put Darien on the board first.
Troy Aikman with the analysis. No, that actually was Cowboys fan Chris Irway with the analysis there. But nonetheless, that started things right there from 18 yards out. Riley Stewart's extra point was good, and we were only just 2 minutes in, barely. It was 7-0 at that point. Then Grant again, he'd score 6 times on the day, a 5-yard touchdown run. Luke Beanstalk would cut it to 14-7. Grant again from 8 yards out, 21-7 after 1. A Riley Stewart 26-yard field goal advanced it to 24-7, and it just went from there. 51-28 was the final score. As I said, 6 touchdowns for Shelby Grant.
Well, and one of the things I was thinking about, as I mentioned earlier, that we may see a different Greenwich team on Thanksgiving when they take on Staples. But as we recall, that Staples game will not count toward the state championship. I am looking at that October 16th game between Greenwich and Trumbull High, off to a 2-0 start. That game likely will put the winner of that game right back into the thick of the race for the FCAC Western Division. New Canaan currently leads that division at 2-0. Trumbull also 2-0. Greenwich 1-1 with that game at Trumbull coming up. Greenwich also plays New Canaan a little bit later on this year. That game on the 24th. So that back-to-back week will tell the tale of Greenwich's season. Trumbull on the 16th, New Canaan on the 24th. About as big as it gets in the FCAC.
And just to kind of correct something Don said, he said the Thanksgiving game doesn't count toward the state. It doesn't count toward the FCAC.
I'm sorry, yes,
right.
correct.
But it does count. It's at that point, it could be everything to the state for both those teams. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean Staples again off to a 2-0 start. They look to be very strong again on top of the Eastern Division. Staples 2-0, Darien 2-0, St. Joseph 1-0 coming off their bye week. The Cadets, obviously, with a win over Brian McMahon to open their season. But yeah, I mean, as we were saying, the East and West divisions, obviously only 2 weeks in, still wide open in the FCAC.
Couple of others. These are Saturday games. We'll get to the Friday games in a moment. Just a couple of others I wanted to highlight. Harding continues to do good things. They knocked Thames River around in the CSC 55-6. I just want to bring this one up because it's a weird score. Wilcox Tech over O'Brien Tech 9-8. Yes, you heard that correct. New Canaan all over Bridgeport Central, 53-8. We kind of knew that would be the case there. Stratford got by Notre Dame of Fairfield, 21-19. That takes us back to Friday, and of course, Friday Night Lights, so plenty of games there as well. Ridgefield with a good pummeling of Fairfield Ludlow, 44-7. Trumbull all over West Hill, 54-21. We alluded to how good the Eagles might be. St. Joe's shut down McMahon 20-0, and the Cadets were dying to play some football, so they finally get going. Stanford over Ward 24-16. Staples 37. Wilton nothing. A few others I want to mention, and then I'll come back to one FCAC game, so I am holding on to one here. If you know the game, then you know what I'm getting at. SEC, it was Daniel Hand over Wilbur Cross 42-16. West Haven 46. Cheshire 14. Xavier beat Hamden 28-7. Foreign over Sheehan 50-13. East Haven with a win over Law. North Haven knocked off Notre Dame of West Haven. Shelton all over Guilford 56-7. And Massac beat Barlow in the SWC 39-14, while Weston fell to New Fairfield 48-13. That leads us to arguably the game of the weekend, really in the state, because it had a little bit of everything. Trinity Catholic used a late touchdown to come back and beat Norwalk 22-20 down at Sam Testa Field on Friday night. And the thing is this. There's been various video of it. We had Scott Erickson on FCAC Game Day on Saturday. He was there. He saw it on Friday night. I know some other guys saw it as well. Sean Patrick Boley was showing me some footage. The question is whether or not Trinity Catholic actually made the catch before kind of tumbling out of bounds to start the celebration. Was it a good call? Was it not a good call? One official said it was not a touchdown, that it was incomplete. Another trail official came flying in and said, yes, it is a touchdown. That touched off a melee that brought, bottles out of the stands, and we'll never advocate for any of that. Fans have got to behave themselves. These guys, remember, they're doing a job, but a lot of these officials, remember, Freddie Camillo was on with us on Saturday. He's been a baseball umpire. Chris Kalin's a part of our crew. He's a baseball umpire and a basketball official. What I'm getting at is these guys that have regular lives, whether it's Cato working down at Strauss Paper or here for us, or if I'm an official, it's a side job. That doesn't excuse that they shouldn't get the call right, but I don't care whether it's Chris Kalin or Ed Hockley. You don't throw bottles on the field to try to hurt these guys. They shouldn't need a police escort off the field. I understand that sometimes these officials come off as holier than thou. I get that. By and large, I like these guys. And I don't know many of them personally, but the conversations I've had with them, they're normally pretty top-notch guys, Don. And so that's my first knock right there is if they got it wrong, and they might have gotten it wrong, let's not get violent with them either. Let's keep it in perspective.
Right, clearly. I mean, and when you watch the video, it does look like it's a pretty scary scene. You have the officials walking with police, being escorted out of the stadium, and then the police closing the gates behind them as they were being followed by a mob of Norwalk fans. And there's no excuse for it. I mean, you don't want to hammer Norwalk. I mean, as we always say, it's the actions of few that get unruly, and But there's people there, even if not the officials. I mean, I bring my daughter to high school football games.
Yeah.
You don't want to have a dangerous scene like that.
Yeah.
And that could have gotten terribly ugly very fast. And we're lucky the police realized what was going on and were able to get those guys out of there safely. And it seems almost beside the fact now, but having looked at the videos, I think it's a catch. I don't. Obviously I didn't have the perfect angle on it. I thought it was a catch. I thought he pulled it in and then had taken a couple of steps out of bounds and then lost it as he went to celebrate when he was already on the running track, was kind of my interpretation of it. So, I understand that it had been a long game. There had been a lot of flags, a lot of discussions, and then they had yet another discussion, and the initial call was overruled. But I kind of think they got it right that time. I mean, it's these are. These officials, they have jobs and families, and they do this to try and give back and contribute, help out kids in an athletic environment. But I thought they got it right.
Now, I heard various versions of it. Some of the video I had seen from Sean Patrick Boley and Scott Erickson made it seem like they didn't get the call right. So, okay, the call became what it is, right, and it's over and done with.
Right.
One other thing I want to make sure to stress is, I get it, I don't want to see any fan behaving the way that they behaved. I don't want to see students behaving that way. But again, adults are there to be the role models, and they're supposed to be the role models. So I don't want to see these crazed moms and dads going after officials either, because that's just, you're not being a leader at that point. You're not setting an example. So that needs to be addressed as well, because I have a big problem with that as well. So you got officials who need to get out of this place. You've got another team that needs to get out of this place. And oh, by the way, I saw Dave Rudin tweet on Saturday that Anthony Lombardi, the quarterback for Trinity Catholic, as well as members of the Norwalk team, were all on the sideline at Greenwich and Darien on Saturday, just chatting and talking it up, talking about that last play like they were all friends. So at the end of the day, as much as these athletes care, this is not war we're talking about. Let's keep it in perspective. It's supposed to be fun high school football. My one last little thing that I want to get on about this, and again, I said this during the broadcast on Saturday with Chris Irway, I understand emotions get the best, and I understand that there are rules, and those rules are meant to be upheld, but I also understand that there are certain spots. Look, we have the 50-point rule in this state, and we have it for a reason. But more often than not, to my knowledge, I think only one coach has still been truly suspended for a week due to the 50-point rule. Everyone else has gone through the process of appealing, and the charge, for lack of a more graceful term, has been dropped. What I'm getting at is 2 personal fouls were thrown against Norwalk head coach Sean Ireland. That means he was ejected. That means he cannot coach, an automatic 1-game suspension. I am saying, and I know this is not popular, and I know this is going against the rule. I think there's a time when you have to stop and say, given the circumstances, we can understand not having to suspend Coach Ireland. That's my take. I don't feel he should be suspended. I understand why he's defending his team. You don't want his team going out there and going crazy. You want the coach to do what he's got to do. And understand the heat of the moment. I think it would be an absolutely prudent thing for the CIAC to say, you know what? This is a kind of a unique situation. Let's let the man coach next week. But I know it's not going to be upheld. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Right. I'm not sure. I'm sure there is an appeals process that CIAC has set down. I have not heard if he's going to be if he's going to try to go through it. But I'm kind of with you on that. Regardless of, I mean, he can appeal if he wants, but my sense is he's going to be sitting this week.
Yeah, I think he is going to be sitting this week. I'm not necessarily saying it's the fairest thing in the world, but then again, that's sports for you. Some other things we need to get to in this opening segment. Let us talk about the standings, certainly in the FCAC from as we sit after 2 games, Don. And you've got Darien and Staples atop the East Division at 2-0, with St. Joe's at 1-0. McMahon and Stanford both 1-1 before you hit Danbury at 0-1 and Warden Wilton at 0-2. In the West Division, New Canaan and Trumbull both 2-0, with a logjam of Greenwich, Norwalk, Ridgefield, Trinity, and West Hill at 1-1. Central and Ludlow both 0-2 to start the year.
Right. Trumbull 2-0, not really unexpected, but what has been unexpected was the ease with which they've won their 2 games. I thought they would probably win their first 2. I did not think they would be as good as they were, and they've been better than expected, in my opinion. As I was mentioning earlier, that game against Greenwich on the 16th looks like that could really be, in Trumbull's case, for the lead in the Western Division. And Trumbull also will get their chance against New Canaan on November 6th. So to me, the big surprise is I lost my train of thought there. The Norwalk 1-1, Ridgefield 1-1, as you mentioned, Central, Ludlow. They're struggling early on.
The Friday night games coming up are Greenwich and Bridgeport Central, McMahon at Stamford, Norwalk at Ridgefield, Ward at Staples, which is the game we'll be at 7 o'clock, West Hill at New Canaan, Danbury at St. Joe's, Trumbull at Trinity Catholic, Ludlow at Wilton, Stamford at Danbury, and Staples at Brian McMahon. Wait, I got a week ahead of myself. Sorry about that. Friday the 9th are Stamford at Danbury, Staples at McMahon, Wilton at Ward, and St. Joe's at Darien, because that's the moment that we hit what's otherwise the mandatory bye week in the FCX. So only a few games next week, which leads to something that we're bouncing around here, and we certainly want your help with, and we'll set something up as a means for you to communicate with us. A la an NBC, a la you name the network, we're going to consider a little flex scheduling, which we always thought would be part of the plan, but certainly as you start looking ahead, maybe there are games that might not hold up the mustard. Maybe there's a better game that week. All that being said, we can consider going to another game, or you at that school can make a stand and say, no, you scheduled our game. We want you to stay with our game. So we're gonna consider doing something like that, something we were bouncing around today.
Yeah, and and it really is fun when you go out to these games, and the excitement that the kids have. I have to say, it was my first experience with our FCAC Football Friday.
Right.
In this case, we had it on a Saturday, but I still consider it a Football Friday, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm hoping these kids really get involved and really let us know loud and clear where we should be.
As always, Greenwich was great to us, from their athletic director Gus Lundeen to really the boss of everything. That's Brian Kennedy, and Evan Dubin, the PA announcer, cross country coach. Everybody around Greenwich was just terrific to us on Saturday.
Yeah, who knew that running cross country? Who knew there was a home field advantage for running?
How about that, right?
I did not know that, but as he mentioned, a round track an oval track that you run on is pretty much an oval track. But his kids, they know where the big roots are sticking out of the ground. They know where the rocks are. So there's that home
live
home course
from
advantage.
Cardinal Stadium in.
Jumpy things again. Again, autoplay is not your friend. We will take a break here on this edition of Nutmeg Sports. When we come back, we've got some soccer to get to. We saw a really good game between Wilton and Fairfield Ludlow. We've got a few highlights from that back on Thursday. We'll talk about what's coming up this week, as well as an interview with the Wilton field hockey team, and we have field hockey coming up later today right here on the HAN Network. But Don and I will take a break. AJ Simonowski keeping us company because he's crazy like that, and we're back right after this. Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
Tired of all the bull? Relax and enjoy the experience of buying a car at Pamby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. No bull allowed.
Highcote Rockefeller Estate is Westchester County's top cultural attraction and is now open for the season. Don't miss out. Go online to hudsonvalley.org to plan your visit. Take a drive out to beautiful Sleepy Hollow, New York, and enjoy Highcote's stunning architecture, breathtaking gardens, expansive art galleries, and commanding Hudson River views. From world-class art by Picasso and Warhol to expertly tended gardens, there's something for everyone. Highcote Rockefeller Estate, a National Trust for Historic Preservation Landmark.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances, where community comes first, a place where there's more than one kind of interest, where automation will never replace consideration, where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
Have no fear. HAN Network's Fast Frights movie contest is here. Can your film make the cut? Submit your 3-minute scary movie today for a chance to win a DJI Phantom 3 drone. Sponsored by Milford Photo. The only thing to fear is missing the deadline.
Alliance. We are an industry
Welcome back
leader
to
in
Nutmeg Sports.
coordinating
It would help if I
transportation.
knew which microphone to turn on. So it used to being mic 1, Don, that I threw mic 1 open. I'm mic 4 today.
I don't think mic 1 exists in the studio today. I think I think it's just kind of.
Isn't mic 1 gold plated and
Yeah. Well, that's actually the former. No, that's not. No, the former mic of authority is actually mic 2.
right? That's correct.
That's true.
Right.
Mic 1 was in front of the power seat.
Yes, it was, which is normally what you do. Just a little inside radio broadcasting. You normally put the quote-unquote anchor mic on mic 1. But anyway, welcome back to Nutmeg Sports on this Monday edition with Donald Eng. I'm Rob Adams. A few other things we need to get to. Before we get to soccer, because we've got some highlights to talk about, we had an Athlete of the Week contest, or voting.
We did. HAN Network Athletes of the Week for last week. And congratulations, Jack Niffen of Darien, boys soccer player. Jack got 34% of the votes, a whopping 676 votes for Jack. Nick Bartels of Greenwich, also a soccer player, second with 22%. That's 440 votes. And footballer Michael Collins, actually that's American football player, Michael Collins of New Canaan, 14%. That's 269 votes. On the girls' side, Marissa Baker, field hockey, Darien High School, 33%. 739 votes. Kate Fiore of Darien, also of Darien, girls soccer, 558 votes. And Annie Amaker of Staples, also a soccer player, 309 votes for third place there. And very happy here. So 1,962 total votes for the boys athlete of the week, 2,254 votes cast for the girls athlete of the week. So great to see that level of participation from the students, from the teammates, things like that, really pumping up their athletes.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, we get it for what it is. There's a certain amount of it being a popularity contest. Not that they're not legitimate winners, for sure, and not that there aren't voters who vote with their heads as opposed to their heart. So I get it for what it is. It'd be kind of interesting to take the other side to see what, impartially what Don, AJ, myself, Eric Gendron, Mike Suppy, Bill Bloxham, what would we say as Athlete of the Week? Kind of fun to consider that. For instance, I saw Bartles. He was outstanding. I saw Collins. He was amazing on the boys' side. On the women's side, it's funny when a cross-country runner like Hannah DeBalzi of Staples doesn't get more votes. She got 9% of the vote at 213 votes, but she is such an amazing athlete. I mean, she could win Athlete of the Week every week, to be perfectly honest with you. So, but Marissa Baker's an outstanding field hockey player. Just some thoughts on it.
And if you want to see some of the highlights, actually, Jack Niffen of Darien scored a pretty neat goal to tie New Canaan at home. Those video of Niffen's goal and of de Blasi are available at fcac.net. Dave Stewart doing a great job, as always,
he's so
getting
great.
these things online.
All right, let's get into some highlights from Wilton and Fairfield Ludlow. This was Thursday night. It's a small highlight package of the game that you saw right here on the HAN network, and really quite a finish. Ended in a tie, but very interesting the way this game turned out. AJ, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's give it a go.
And off the free, it's pooched down. A lot of traffic out in front. Now stolen away, pinballing off a couple of players. Thrown down and they score! Let's see. The approach and the kick. And he goes top shelf.
Almost the same placement as against Greenwich, and it worked.
A long punt down into the Ludlow end, turned over, taken by Brandt. Brandt sends it! Oh, just wide!
Oh, great effort by Brandt. Took the ball away from, I believe that was Bellucci. came in. A nice shot, just a little wide.
Brandt's got to get back up, although 5 to go. Here's the long goal kick. Down to midfield, down to 1, and this one comes to an end.
And that would have been a dramatic game winner right there.
So there you
Off
go.
the
Good
free,
stuff.
it's
Thanks to
pooched
Tim
down.
Murphy. He helped me on the call. These guys have been so great to work with. Mike Suppy will be on the call with me today for field hockey. Just helps to get more comfortable with these sports that are kind of new to my, my arsenal. So, but terrific game. Kind of some high drama there and just missing at the end.
Yeah, it's funny. I hadn't watched a lot of soccer before the last couple of years, and it really is. It's because goals are hard to come by. It just the tension of a soccer game, just the level of excitement and it can be relentlessly paced. So it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to getting more coverage of soccer out this season.
Yes, indeed, as well as field hockey, and that's coming up later on right here on the HAN Network. In fact, what's going on this week, dare you ask? I will grab my binder right here and give you that information. As we get into October, we do start with Staples and Wilton today at 4. Then we're right back at it tomorrow for Trumbull and Fairfield Ward, and that is at Fairfield Ward at 4 o'clock, and then that moves us to Friday, Fairfield Ward and Staples. Yes, a good week for the Mustangs. Fairfield Ward and Staples, as well as a good week for the Wreckers. And that is at Staples High School, 7 o'clock. We will have the usual cast of characters of Tailgate and FCAC Game Day getting you ready for football, and we will be at Staples High School on Friday. So another 3-game week for us as we move into October.
Be a very good time. Looking forward to it. Ward off to a slow start, 0-2. Really showed some signs of life though in this past week, and boy, that's a tough test going down to Staples.
And it's amazing. It's only a few weeks left in the field hockey season and soccer season as well, because as I noted here, our last soccer game, as scheduled right now, and this can adjust on the fly. October 19th and October 20th are supposed to be our last 2 soccer games before we do our last 2 field hockey games on October 26th and 27th, and then we're right into football for the rest of the season, but there's playoffs and all to consider. One last thing we're going to do before we say goodbye is we're going to chat with a field hockey team, in fact, and that would be the team from Wilton. The Warriors joined us back during our FCAC tour, so we've got it all set to go, and we'll let you hear from them right now on Nutmeg Sports. And the tour has brought us to Wilton High School, the home of the Warriors. Happy to talk field hockey with Tim Murphy. I am Rob Adams. Let's introduce these ladies. Tell us your name.
Hi, I'm Jillian Mahon. And I'm Amanda Hendry.
Jillian, let me start with you. A big year last year, but I would imagine the goal is to go a step farther this year.
Yes, our team is really good this year, and we've been working really hard all off season, and hopefully we can win FCX this year and then a state title again and bring it back to Wilton.
How do you take that next step? What does it take?
Just working hard 100% of the time at practice, not complaining about sprints, just working hard all the time.
Now, you guys have won 3 state titles in a row until last year. How tough was that?
It was really hard, but we pushed through, and now we're ready to come back and win again this year.
And you have a lot of seniors on the team this year?
We have 5 seniors this year, but we only had 4 last year, so more than last year.
Okay. Now we have 2 college players here.
That's right.
Amanda is going to UNC, and Jillian is going to Michigan State. So 2 nice Division I programs.
What attracted you to that?
Well, they have a fantastic business program, a lot of school spirit, which I was really interested in, an amazing honors college, and overall just when I stepped on campus, the vibe was just exactly what I wanted.
Have you guys done any team bonding this preseason?
Yeah, we went to a travel camp, like an away camp, and we bonded over that for 4 days. And then this coming weekend, we have this 2-day, I think 4-hour thing where we're going to bond with the whole team and try to get a good team spirit going.
Looks like they've got lofty goals here at Wilton this year for the field hockey team. We'll see if they can reach them. We'll keep an eye on them. We thank the field hockey team, Jillian and Amanda, and the entire team for coming out and visiting us on the HAN Network here at Wilton High School. And we're back with you for our final moment here on Nutmeg Sports. And Don, field hockey today, field hockey tomorrow, football Friday.
There's a lot going on. We encourage everyone to get out to the games and support these teams. But if you can't, follow them on the HAN Network.
That's exactly right. And, of course, as well, coffee break tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock, and Nutmeg Sports tomorrow right back here, same time.
I guess we'll be talking about field hockey.
Sounds like we'll be talking about field hockey and anything else that we've got, but that'll do it for Nutmeg Sports for today. We thank you for joining us. Thanks to AJ Simonowski, as always, for keeping us company and driving us as crazy as we can possibly get. And thank you for keeping me sane. Or something like that, Don.
Or something.
Yeah, something like that. Go to Monroe.
Yeah, somewhere.
For AJ Simonowski, Donald Eng, all of us here at the HAN Network, I'm Rob Adams. We'll talk to you for field hockey at 4 o'clock. Coffee break tomorrow. Nutmeg Sports right back here at 2 tomorrow afternoon. But for now, we'll see you. So long, everyone.